Welcome back. I'm Bill.
And I'm Ann.
And we are the Amateur Adventurers Club. We did a summer's worth of camping this year in our Snoozy 2. We had a great time, and we've got some great footage with this episode of the Amateur Adventurers Club. Ann, would you like to get started with the statistics?
I would. So, let me see here. So we have stayed in 5 different states this past summer, 10 different campgrounds. We did 3 nights in our driveway while we had our hardwood floors refinished. Still an adventure. And we did 1 night of boondocking on our way back from Florida after chasing Ian around, dodging Ian. And we did it for a total of 29 nights. First time boondocking was a little intimidating at first, but it was pretty comfortable. So I think we would do it again for sure. Bill, you want to add some more stuff?
Yeah, I'll go over some notables before we start rolling footage. As Ann mentioned, the first camping trip this summer was in our driveway, 3 nights while we had our floors refinished. We went to Binghamton Bear in Binghamton, New York. That was very interesting. Got some great footage there. We were in Swan Bay in Alexandria Bay, New York. Great time there. Old Orchard Beach in Maine, and some separate adventures to go along with that trip as well. Rivers Crossing, which is in central New York. New Green Acres, that's a stop in South Carolina on our way to Florida. Indian Pass, Port St. Joe, great trip. We got some great footage there. Our boondocking on the way back from Florida at a Cracker Barrel, which worked out really well. It was a little chilly, and we weren't the only ones there. I think there were 5 or 6 other campers spending the night as we made our way back home. And then we finished off the year with at a KOA in Watkins Glen, New York. Another great trip at the end of the season, but we're going to cover all this in our video coming up. We even got a chance to stop at a Buc-ee's. Neat place. Stop if you get a chance, fill up, check out what they have inside. How else would you like to add to that?
Well, you're going to see little clips from each of these adventures.
Yes.
We're going to try to keep it kind of short, but we're going to pull out the fun points of each trip. And each trip was a lot of fun.
One of the things that I liked is while we were at Rivers Crossing in central New York, we brought our kayaks and we went through a lock on the New York State Canal system. That was quite an experience, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
First time through a lock in kayaks. So we've got that all documented. We're going to put some clips of that in there. And so stay tuned, and look forward to seeing you back for our next adventure. We've got trips booked already for next year. And so like and subscribe, and stick around for more video. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
The first real camping trip of the year was the Villages at Turning Stone RV Resort in Oneida, New York. We brought a couple of grandkids with us, and it's close to home. We had a ball. The next trip was Fairhaven Beach State Park in Fairhaven, New York, right on Lake Ontario. Great sunsets. We even stumbled across a nice winery and bought ourselves a bottle of wine while we were there. Well, it's time for another Amateur Adventures Club episode. And we're heading south out of Syracuse to the Binghamton, New York area, to a campground called Binghamton Bear Campground. We've never been there before. It's about an hour and a half south of home. We're meeting some friends down there, and we'll do some recording, put together another episode so you can see what the campground's like. So see you soon. Binghamton Bear Campground in Endicott, New York. Nice place, little pond, great waterfront sites. They also have covered wagons. They've got yurts to rent. They've got kayaking, a bouncy pad. They've got an alpine slide. And we just had to try it out.
All right, here you go. Here we go.
Give him a second to get down so you can see it.
I won! We're on to our next adventure. Pedal car racing.
Here's Spirit.
I got it.
A little kayaking in the pond.
And I went and rescued 2 life vests.
Rescued 2 life vests. Now time for the bouncy pad.
Oh, jeepers.
So this is Swan Bay RV Resort in Alexandria Bay, which is north of Syracuse at the top of New York State, right along the Canadian border with the St. Lawrence River running between the two countries. Very scenic, very nice RV resort. We went out for a boat ride, saw some of the islands and the lighthouses, some of the wildlife. We did a little fishing and just toured the Thousand Islands region of Alexandria Bay. We even took the time to ride by the historic Bolt Castle located in the Alexandria Bay area of the Thousand Islands. And we finished off this trip with a beautiful moonlit night shining down on our Snoozy 2. So this trip was more about the adventures than the camping. We took the ferry boat from Plattsburgh, New York across Lake Champlain to Burlington, Vermont, where we visited a couple of wineries and a brewery, and downtown Burlington for a nice little dinner. The second adventure of this trip was to the Ausable Chasm, which is in the Adirondack Park, where we did some hiking.
So the trail we're on is about a mile long. It's supposed to be the most scenic. But there's 2 other trails that we may venture out to, which might be a little bit more difficult. But we're willing to try it.
That's the adventure. So this is the Elephant Head formation, rock formation. See the head of the elephant right there, looking down into the chasm. You holding that up for me?
Yeah.
All right.
So you get by.
Just till I get by.
I got it.
All right, thanks.
We'll come.
We thought it'd be a great idea to hike down and take the raft back, which worked out really well.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. You're gonna go down there in a raft?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Normally we have these big yellow paddles, which are probably about this thick in diameter, but we don't have any in the rocket now, so I'm stuck using a guy.
Is that the wooden boat up on the cliff?
Yes.
So this was our trip to Old Orchard Beach, Maine. While we were there, we went up to Portland for a whale watching trip, and we went to Freeport, Maine for some shopping.
About 9 o'clock, headed right to left. There it is again. That's a good look at that Mickey whale.
We also made a side trip to the Maine distillery. This trip to Rivers Crossing in Savannah, New York was about the kayaking on the Seneca River, part of the Erie Canal system. We really wanted to go through the lock with the kayaks, so here we go.
The gates are opening. They're entering lock 25. All right, we're in the lock. Now the water's gonna drop so we can come out the other side. They just closed the gates. Lock tender's going down to get ready to open the other end of the gates, or the other gates at the other end. The water level, you can see the line starting to drop. This is the first for us, going through the lock in kayaks. Kind of neat. Oh, here come the gates are opening.
So we paddled around for a little while, decided it was time to go back through the lock and back to the campground.
All right, we're back in. Now the water's got to come up to let us out the other side. Water level's rising. You can see all the fresh water coming into the canal, or into the lock, bubbling up all around us. Say hi. All right, time to leave the lock. And we're paddling out.
This is Indian Pass Campground in Port St. Joe, Florida, on the Panhandle, or as they call it, Florida's Forgotten Coast. They also call it Oyster City because this area of the Gulf is just full of oysters. This campground was all about the location, being right on the Gulf. It may not have been a fancy RV resort, but it did the job and we really enjoyed our time there. I do a walkthrough coming up. So right across this body of water, which they call the Indian Pass, is St. Vincent Island, which is a wildlife refuge. And our plan was to kayak across if the weather was good enough.
Now we made it over to St. Vincent Island. It's a wildlife refuge.
So we hiked through a nature trail to get to the Gulf Beach on the other side of the island. It was quite the hike through the wilderness.
So we made it through the nature trail, and here we are on St. Vincent Island on the Gulf Beach, looking out into the Gulf of Mexico. Here is nothing except for that crab that Dan just chased off. Got a couple of shells here. Yes.
You can also take a ferry boat over to St. Vincent Island from the campground marina. There's one going over right now, but there were no passengers on it because of the hurricane that was in the Gulf. We tried so hard to catch the dolphins on video. We did manage to get a few, but there were actually a lot more than what we recorded.
All right, there's a dolphin right out front of the dock. There's two of them. There we go.
We even befriended a pelican for the day. There weren't too many people in the campground, so he needed someone to pal around with for the day. He was quite comical. and even wanted to do some sunbathing with Ann. While we were in Port St. Joe, we had to stop by the Cat 5 Raw Bar and Grill. Great view, great food. And we also stopped by the Port St. Joe Lighthouse. Here's our walkthrough of the Indian Pass campground. They call it primitive camping. It's not your typical RV resort, but a lot of waterfront campsites, and you're right on the Gulf. So the location is great, and you're halfway between Port St. Joe and Apalachicola, so there's great sightseeing around the area. We enjoyed the campground very much. We were actually dodging Hurricane Ian at the time, and we had a plan to go north if we had to, which it never made it up into the Panhandle, the area that we were in, so we were safe. And but we loved the view, and believe it or not, we had a great sunrise view and not a sunset view, just because of where we were in the Panhandle, actually looking east. So this was our last camping trip of the season at Watkins Glen KOA in Watkins Glen, New York. We had our new awning put on the camper, so we wanted to try it out. We brought our granddaughter with us, and it was late October, but still not too chilly for a nice campfire to finish out the season. So with the cold weather coming, we covered up the snoozy until the next adventure. So remember, be kind, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next Amateur Adventurers Club adventure.